Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we are back, and we're moving into our first conversation for today. We talk about the impact of the pandemic in so many different aspects, but of course, we haven't really discussed so much what's been happening within the schools. And since the shift from last March to distance or online learning for children, it's time for us to get an update from the teachers as to how it's been going. So I have 4 teachers who are joining us this morning. We have Mary Mejia, who is a teacher at Holy Redeemer Primary School. We have Calman Hall, who is a teacher at St. Luke's Methodist Primary School. We have Orlando Broomfield, who is a teacher at St. Catherine Academy. And we have Sherilee McKenzie, who's a teacher at St. Martin de Porres Primary School. Good morning.
Good morning.
All
Morning, everyone.
And I also want to say thank you because I know you guys are still on your Christmas break. So
it's okay.
Yeah, it's a chance for us to find out how things have been going. And we do have, of course, one representative from a high school and the other 3 are from primary school. So let's start off with the high school perspective first. Orlando, you guys had some experience and some practice in doing online classes. But of course, I don't know if anyone expected it was going to go for this long. How has it been going?
Positive and negative. Positive in the sense that, yes, you rightly said, we had some experience with online learning with the Digital Learn program. But we were going at our own little pace, learning 1 app per day, or week or month. Taking it slow until the pandemic hit, and that just threw the face-to-face learning out the window for us. Yeah. And it has been rough sometimes, but it has been exciting as well. Yeah. And I've had more happy days than sad days.
Yeah. And you teach science and math?
That is correct. So introduction to physics, integrated science, and your favorite, chemistry.
But those are really practical subjects. I mean, how do you translate that to an online platform? I mean, you can't do a chem lab if you're online.
Well, thankfully, not to bash, right? But CXC, are in the bad books of everyone. So the pressure to complete labs and to do CXC has been diminished somewhat. So that has been helpful. But before we were at that stage, we were doing laboratory experiments using online simulations, like PhET laboratories online and other different simulations. And the only thing that is lacking in that regard is the students don't get to actually use their hands to, carry out the experiments, but they have to know the scientific theories that underline, the different observations and expectations of a lab. So we have been able to keep up, but not with the hands-on aspect.
Okay. So let's move it over to Calman and talk about what's happening at St. Luke Methodist. How have things been going there?
Well, it started out, and then it took a turn for not the better, because we started 95% participating, and then after it started to decrease as time goes by, it started to decrease. And so we decided to meet parents where they're at. Some of them said it was too much work. Some of them said they don't have the time. We met as a school and we decided that, okay, let's see how best fit we can meet them. And so what we did, instead of doing for the week, we started doing for 2 weeks. And that was even a challenge for some of them. And so what we did, we met again to accompany them, and then we decided to cut back on some of the work that we were sending home because they said it was too much. So we decided that it was only going to be three language, three math, one social studies, one science, one Spanish, one religion, and we incorporated arts.
Let me just step in there and get some clarity as to what format, because different schools are using different formats. Some are online and doing interactive classes, but I know quite a number of primary schools are sending work home. So let's talk about what you guys send stuff home once a week or once every 2 weeks now.
Yes, yes, because we have noticed that we are facing some challenges, that most of our students don't have access to internet or don't have a device. So the problem comes in when we did a survey and we were trying to see who had access to internet, and most of our students don't have access to internet.
That's interesting that you conducted the survey before to be certain.
Yes.
Let's hear from Mary now at Holy Redeemer. Tell me a bit about what you guys have been doing.
Hi. Well, first and foremost, we had to go with what the Ministry of Education has mandated for all primary schools, especially. And so we had to go on the learning package. That was more feasible for parents. As my colleague said before, some students don't have access to internet. They don't have resources. And so we had to open up and see what was most welcoming, most feasible for families, for children, for parents. And we had to go with what the Ministry of Education said and do the learning packages. So what we did, we got together and we decided what was easier, what was more meaningful, and how parents and children can work together with us. And so we reached out to our parents. We did a survey and to check about the internet access and everything. And so we ended up going with the learning package from that the ministry has mandated for us to use. So we took the curriculum and we did what we needed to do as teachers, and we sent out our learning packages. But at the same time, with our learning packages, we had opened Google Classrooms so that parents can be able to go in there, view videos with their children, videos of us teaching the topics that goes with the learning packages. So we find that was very much more helpful. As you know, especially with the infant division that I teach. We go in and we actually teach a subject, teach a topic, and then we post it so that parents can go when they have the time, because parents are not at home. Most parents are not at home with their children. Probably 3 parents out of my 26 are at home, are home parents. Wow. So they work. So what time do they have? It's the same time that they would have been doing homework with their children in the evenings. So they could go in the evenings on Google Classroom, log on, even if it's their phone, and view the lessons that goes with the topics that we have on the learning package. And we find it more feasible that way. But to be very honest, from my point of view, I have had very, very positive feedback from my parents. And 1 and 2 that are not on par is worrisome. And I'm going to take this opportunity to practically beg parents to be a part of their child's learning, because it's not only now that we are asking you to be a part of your child's learning. It should have been that way from ever since. You know, every time we have PTO meetings and stuff, we encourage parents. You remember that education is a 3-way street. It's a triangle. It's parents, students, teachers. It's not just the child and the teacher, because then we will fall short somewhere there. So we are encouraging parents, be a part of, this is what we have to face. This is reality, right? And it is not easy for the teachers as well as the parents. It was a difficult road getting there. It was learning to open a Google Classroom, learning to do this, learning to do that. And we parents, we teachers are also parents. We have to deal with our children at home the same way our parents have to deal with their children. So we know what you're going through, right? We are not just here sitting back or just sending lessons. No, it's not that way. We are worried about our students because at the end of the day, when they come back into the classroom, we have to make sure that they get on par, and we cannot leave any of them behind. So we are begging, do your little part. Just, push as much as you can and do your little part, because remember that education begins at home. Parents are the first teachers. Okay?
I think, thank you for that. And I think you said quite a bit, but one of the things I wanted to zoom in on was looking at the situation of parents who are working and in fact would have to dedicate the time to work with the children after they come home from work. Let's get Sherilee's perspective. Sherilee is at St. Martin, the Poress Primary School. Tell us what the situation is like there.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It was, at first, it was exciting to know that we were going to be able to venture off on something new. I'm always open to change, so I was excited to venture off into doing this online learning. But going into it, there were some challenges, and we needed to adapt. We needed to be flexible with parents. We worked as a team to collaborate together and decide what's most important for us to focus on as a school. Some of the challenges would have been like getting the work done in a timely manner. We did 2 weeks. We allowed our students to work for 2 weeks. So we gave them the learning packages. We put together the learning packages based on the outcomes from the curriculum. And then we give them 2 weeks to work on it, and then they bring it in, and we give them another package for another 2 weeks. I must say that parents really, really tried their best to be on board with the new norm. It's a challenge for everybody. It's a challenge for parents. It's a challenge for students and teachers. It's something that we need to learn to adapt to. And, doing things new, you will have people who don't want to be on board with it, and you will have some who will embrace the change. However, we took into consideration that majority of the parents work, and the device that the students would have had access to is the parent's phone, and the parents have the phone at work. So they had to log on when they come home from work and try to keep up with what was going on during the day. For me, I use WhatsApp as a medium to communicate with my parents and students. I send them mini videos with the lesson for the day. We send messages in the WhatsApp chat. However, the WhatsApp is active, but it depends on the time of the day that the parents really have time to access what's being done for that day in the WhatsApp chat.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying so many different considerations have to be made. And there are two things. One is looking at what the parent can be able to do with the child. And of course, the priority is looking at the child's well-being. But my question, since you're all teachers, is to ask about adapting lesson plans, because you study and you train to become teachers, to be able to deliver new lessons and foundational lessons to children in a particular way, in a way that you'll make them learn. What has it been like to translate that into, whether it's online or WhatsApp or video or even the paper learning packages? What has that process been like?
it has been a bit challenging. It has been rough, um, and worrisome. And as I said, we come together and think of ways to to help parents, because we know, yes, because every summer we train over and over. We train to come up with new ways how to find new resources to reach our children. They come different every year. You know, they come a little bit more advanced. Sometimes you have to stoop to their level. You have to do whatever it takes, and we are trained to do that, whereas parents are not trained to do that. We had to take all of that into consideration, and it is not the same. It will never be the same. The homeschooling will never be the same as the face-to-face at school, but we have to compromise. But at the same time, as we said, opening Google Classroom, opening our WhatsApp chat, we have to be calm with parents and being open and willing for them to ask questions. Call, teacher, how do I go about doing this? How do I go about doing that? My child is not understanding this concept. You know, even though you send the video, he or she is not understanding the concept. And we have to be open to find ways to help that parent, because sometimes we get parents that they have a language barrier. The child can speak English because they go to preschool and primary school and learn from peers and teachers, but sometimes the parents cannot speak English, and so it's difficult for them to read or understand the videos that we're sending and the learning packages that we're sending. And so we have to find ways to help that parent, teach that parent how to teach the child, how to help the child. So we have to call and talk and, you know, do different things, but it takes a lot, and it takes being calm. As teachers, it's our duty to be calm, show them that we are calm and we are here to help them. You know, it's difficult. It is not the same.
Yeah, I imagine you guys are on demand all day long, no?
Yes.
Yes, it
We're
is.
we're no longer those teachers that are at school from 8 to 3 anymore. We're teachers around the clock, because sometimes parents are messaging you after 12 in the night because they don't understand something and you have to respond.
Yeah. To answer your question, Marlene, what I like about it is the flexibility that we have as teachers, because despite the challenges that we face, it allows us to really reach the students that really, really needs the help. You know, we're able to do one-on-one conferences with our students for those who we could reach. I have parents who would message, like my colleague said before, that, you know, the student is not getting the concept or they don't understand, and I would do a mini video lesson with myself doing the concept, teaching the concept, and using my charts and things like that, and that really helped the students to understand. Because what parents voiced was that they prefer seeing the teacher teaching rather than sending YouTube videos, because they don't understand some of the languages of the people in the YouTube video. So they prefer when I send my lessons with myself teaching the lesson. And so I use this opportunity to really do one-on-one with my students for those who I could reach. And I try my best to reach out to everyone. You know, it's a challenge because, not like I said, not everybody is on board with this new norm. However, I try to use the opportunity as best as possible to do a lot of one-on-one. And what I find is that you would find out that some students are not where they're not at the level that they should be. And so you go back and you try to introduce concepts that they were supposed to learn in order to move on forward. So despite the challenges, I think that it really allows you to tap into different avenues in order for you to help your students to be where they are. It won't be overnight, and it's a lot of work, I must say. It takes a lot from us, especially being a parent myself. So we just have to do what we could, and try to be positive, because if we don't be positive, parents are leaning on us for answers and help, and we must be the ones to encourage them to do better. Don't give up, because it's a challenge. Life is still we're still living every day with life goes on. It's not pausing, so we must adapt to it, and we have to ensure them that we're here for you guys. It's frustrating, and you want to give up at times, but at the end of the day, we as teachers have a duty to serve our students.
All I'm thinking about from what you said is that you're both learning. The kids are learning the schoolwork that you send, but it seems that the teachers are learning how to become videographers and learn to impart the information virtually.
If I may add, so I really, my heart goes out to the teachers in primary schools, because their experience is a little bit different. The students are at a different level at the high school and above. The students are expected to have some kind of autonomy and some self-directed learning skills. So it's a little different for us at the high school and beyond. But we still have to learn new things. And I'm hoping that teacher education, at the teacher training institutions will, adapt to the new norm, the technology, heavy technology in the classroom. So content, as a teacher teaching online, you have to be able to explain your content clearly, right? Because you don't know who is watching. There's more pressure on the teacher now, because the cousin abroad, the aunt abroad, the mom at home, the dad at home, everybody is now judging, okay, what am I paying my money for? So there's that pressure. Then there's the technical skills. You have to know something about the computer. So if you were afraid of the computer, you're afraid to take a selfie, those days have to be in the past.
You can't be shy.
Can't be shy. Then you have to have social skills, because now you have to be extremely cautious of how you say what you say. So you may mean something nice, but maybe the parent is listening to what you're saying online and you don't know, and the parent can't see your face. The parent does not have a relationship with you like your students. They know you, they know your sarcasm, they understand, the ways.
Yeah, that's your rapport with them.
And then nobody else in the house knows that. So it comes off as, man, that teacher is mean. And then you need some pedagogical skills, some ways of explaining the content that they can understand over the internet. So in terms of technical skills, I've been through it. So setting up a green screen, for example, what color green cloth to buy, what about the lighting effects, and the technical software that I will need, and how to add a title to my lesson. You name it. So we've been through all of it, but as has been expressed earlier, I think we are all growing. And I hope that the parents will be more supportive as we travel through this new terrain.
And I think that's such a critical part of the conversation as well, and just tell me, what is the response that you're getting? Because I've spoken to a lot of parents and I hear both sides. I hear some who say it's too much work, and I hear some who say it's not enough work. And there is a level of understanding, I think, that has to be had on all parts to recognize that this is just a completely abnormal experience that we're all kind of adjusting to. But what's the feedback that you tend to get the most from parents?
Well, if I could start, the feedback I get is that I give a lot of work, but it's from the fringes. And those are the loudest voices, by the way. Most students and most parents understand that everything is new, and they allow us to do what we have to do. But from the fringes, you'll hear, oh, why this teacher have to send so much work? And then it's a matter of also building a relationship with the parents, because when a positive relationship is established from the teacher to the parent, then that relationship builds trust. And then when the parent trusts that the teacher is doing the best for the benefit of their son or daughter, then that kind of tone down the negative comments. And then it's all a matter of also teaching your student, because sometimes it's the student's inability to adapt to the new norm too. So and it's and they like to complain. So it's all about beating them to complain. So for example, when I schedule a test, I find multiple ways of preparing them for that test and reminding them that they have that test on that particular day. So I use the WhatsApp, I use different apps. I even title the lessons, class 2 countdown to the test date, class 1 countdown to the test date. These are the topics, these are the pages. This is the day that we talk about emotional responses to the test. I find all kind of different ways just to turn their minds away from complaining. And once they start to complain, then that builds momentum, then that can be negative. So it's all about being positive and building a positive relationship with the parents and the students.
Let's hear from the primary school teachers on this one. What's the most common feedback that you get from parents?
Parents are asking for them to open schools back. They are crying for the minister to open back the schools because they find it hard and to cope because they're working, and then they have to be. They say that they're teaching the students themselves when it comes to certain concepts. But we try, like my colleague said, we try to be positive and we try to ensure them that we're here for them. We're here if you need any help. Try to channel their thoughts in a positive way, to adapt to the change that we have. So we just try to do our best, man, and try to support them as much as possible. Some of them are really going through a hard time, losing their job, losing family members. I mean, it's really, really hard. And for you to also focus on your child's education, it puts a toll on you as a parent. So we try to be understanding and empathize with our parents and just try to be a support system for them also, not only for our students, but also for our parents. And listen to their cries. We ask them for their suggestion. We do surveys to get feedback and to pounce on what they say and to make the necessary changes in order to better off this distance learning that we have in place.
How do you battle the disparity that exists just within your classes? Because there are different things, as you all pointed out. There's some people who don't have devices or don't have access to the internet, or the one device they use is shared amongst the entire family, from mom and dad to maybe other children in the household as well. There's some who have very involved parents, whether they're working or not, very involved parents, and there's some who perhaps either their parents can't or don't have the time, or maybe have their attention focused on something else important at that time. So how do you manage that in a classroom? Calman, why don't you tell me?
Well, for me, it's a little hard because some of them, it's like 4 of them in a home, and they have that one big brother going to high school, and then high school is demanding that you be online. So then where will that time come in for that child to use the device? And then sometimes when the parent comes home and the phone is available, something comes up, the mom or the dad needs the phone. So then where that balance, the balance is a little bit lost, because then it's hard for me to try and reach that child when there's only 1 device or 2 devices in the home, rather than if each of them would have their own devices.
Okay. Yeah. And for you, Mary?
I'd say it depends on you as the teacher and your relationship with the parents and the students, because at the beginning, one of my parents stated in my WhatsApp group, teacher, you know what, it's just too much work. I cannot deal with it. Can you please just give me everything on Monday that I'm supposed to do for the whole week? And so, you know, and it is a lot of frustration and whatever. So then I had to learn my parents, learn my students. It's just as if I'm in the classroom and I have to learn the learning styles of my students so that I am able to work with them.
Yeah.
But what I did was, all right, discuss with them. All right, I'm just going to post 3 lessons each day, right? So I'm going to post one that is a little bit more difficult, with 2 that are a little bit more easier for them to cope with. And so you just have to learn them, learn their learning styles, and learn how it is easier for parents to help their child. So I would never give a lesson today and expect everything to be done by tomorrow, because I don't know what is going on in that household. So I would post it and give them a little timeline, 2-3 days to get it done, and post it up. And even on the weekends, I find that a lot of my parents are able to work with their child on the weekend. That is showing me that they don't have time during the week. So we post it and we leave it there, and we have to be able to have patience and give them the chance, give them the opportunity to sit and work with their child. Like, you know, I would tell them, put on the video, and while you're cooking, making supper or whatever, they can be watching the video, you can be listening, you know, have them watch the video over and over, do whatever you need to do to, you know, we have to learn to cope. We have to learn to be flexible. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's you know, I think that it's clear that that's something that across the board there is an adjustment that has to be done on all sides. My question though is looking at what happened in September. So the children matriculated, they moved up, and there was a difference between when the children dispersed in March. You knew your class already. In September, you got a whole new bunch. What has it been like trying to learn their learning styles since you haven't had face-to-face contact with them?
Well, if I may begin. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the key skills for online learning for any educator is establishing social presence and having high emotional intelligence and being a nice person most of the times. And knowing something about what would be a distractor for them, for example, at the high school level. If BTS puts out a new song, for example, I would want to know that, because then that will be an access point for me to interact with them. If Shensia puts out a new song, you know, lighter or whatever, I would want to try and sing it too, you know, something to connect with them, because it's the connection that will build and establish that relationship. I mean, the teachers of the primary school, obviously they can't do as much in terms of connecting with those children, but at the high school level, I can speak from that level. It's good to build and establish the relationships from early, and try and understand something about them. So it's not like 1 hour of class is for teaching. It's impossible for us to, as adults, to be attentive for 5 minutes, much less a teenager. So it's about diversifying the conversation. So sometimes it's about a joke or something about your past that, you know, it's okay for you to share with them, or something about their lives, and to highlight their successes and their goals and their dreams and their aspirations, and how have they been coping during the pandemic, and what skills have they been learning, who has become a farmer or whatever. So it's about the social presence and establishing, you know, safe spaces that they can feel comfortable interacting with each other and with you as a teacher.
And I want to get the responses from the primary level teachers on that in learning the styles of the children. But before we move on from you, Orlando, one of the things I keep on thinking about is, and especially for the age group that you're working with, how children are doing, how our teenagers are doing. Because, you know, if there's ever a group of, an age group that needs or relies on social interaction as a part of their development, it is, or high schoolers. So tell me, you know, when I hear you talking about balancing, talking about the lesson, and also kind of checking in on them, it's so comforting, because I'm sure they really need an outlet to kind of just talk about how they're coping. Tell me from your students' perspective what you've seen as to how they're doing.
So luckily, I've always been a teacher who is highly involved in student life. Yeah. So from football coaching to coaching debate teams, to rapping over the PA system, you know. So I've always been that kind of entertainer, so to speak. So it's okay for me. It was not bad for me. And then knowing a lot about what their distractions are in terms of music and Netflix specials, you know, what series they're watching, and give my take and my funny perspectives on different characters and stuff. So for me, the transition was normal. Yeah. And
what do you hear from the girls? What are you hearing from them?
Right. So I'm one of the cool teachers. I'm not representing SCA. Yeah. I just want to make a disclaimer there, but I just want to point out that SCA has had a number of initiatives to reach out to parents as well as to students. So we had our pandemic or COVID-19 series, YouTube series, where we highlighted the skills that the girls are learning during the pandemic. We had our wellness days with the counselor. So the counselor set up different initiatives to reach out to the students and the parents. And there have been a number of other things and a number of initiatives that we have been able to do as a school body to, help our students to cope, or to take our students along, not just academically and but also emotionally and spiritually. We also have our spiritual emphasis there, being a Catholic school. So on those fronts, I can say I work at an institution that is taking care of the whole person. I can't speak for other schools, and I'm not speaking for SC again, but I just want
to from your experience, I appreciate that. And Sherilee, tell us about the learning of the new children. So when September started, you had to do the catch-up session. There was that month where you had to do a catch-up on or it was called, I think, an assessment period. And then you had a whole new class. So I mean, what was that like?
Well, for me, what we did as a school, before the ministry came up with what they wanted us to teach from the curriculum, we as a school decided which subjects and which content we wanted to focus mostly on. Mm-hmm. So for the month of between August and September, we focused on content that we felt the students needed to go back on in order for them to move forward. So it was like a pretest. And based on the results that we got, we were able to implement new strategies and implement new concepts in order for students to reach the level that they needed to be. Surprisingly, we had to do a lot of reteaching of the concepts that they were supposed to know, because like we said, they had to end the school year a little bit early in March, and they were not able to finish the curriculum that was set for that level. So we had to pick up the slack and include that into the pre-testing that we did, and focus on concepts that would have students, right at the level that they need to be. Learning the students, well, I'm a fun teacher. I'm not bragging, but I'm one of the...
I could imagine, we can tell, yeah. All of you are well liked at your school, I can tell.
Yeah. I'm spontaneous, I'm adventurous, so I gravitate towards my students, and my students really gravitate towards me because of my personality. And so learning them wasn't a challenge for me. Most of them I taught at Infant 1. I'm now at Standard 4. So I got some of the students that I taught already. So I knew them.
Yeah.
And
how-
tried to be.
I was going to ask you, how are they doing at Standard 4 age? Not being around their friends, not being able to play?
Well, what I do, I try to do Zoom. I try to do WhatsApp calls. So when I call them in groups, and they love that because they're able to see their friends, they're able to talk and interact, share their experiences, and they really enjoy that because they say they feel like they're at school. Okay. And we do different games. At St. Martin's, we have a award program. At the end of each month, we award two parents and 2 students from your class from every level, and we print out a certificate for them. And when they come, we give them the certificate, take their pictures, and we post it up on our Facebook page. Yeah. So that's kind of what we do there at St. Martin's to try to build a relationship with parents and students and have the transition go as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. So Calman, tell me about adjusting to a new classroom when you got your new group.
I have taught some of them at Standard 1. Okay. So most of them, half of the class I already knew. Okay. So when I saw my list, I was like, okay, I know some of them already. I know what they're capable of doing, and I know what, and so then you have some of them that it's first time I'm meeting them. So those were the ones I spent my time trying to learn, trying to know what it's like, what is happening home, because it's difficult getting a group of students you don't know. Yeah. Because you don't know what to expect. Yeah. Yeah. Because for me, one challenge that I have is I have a group of parents that speaks only Spanish. Oh. And it's after doing some research that I found out that why is my work not finishing? And I realized it's because of language barrier.
The parents can't help
don't
them.
Understand.
Interesting.
Yes, so I was like, I have to see how I can best meet these parents. And so what was fascinating to me, one of them got a tutor, and immediately the tutor got in contact with me. And so I went back and forth with the tutor, and up to present day, that child is doing very well.
Wow. Yeah. There's so much insight you guys have to have. Like you are not just looking at collecting the work back, but seeing how effective the training or the schooling is going. Mary, I'm so curious to know how the little ones are doing. I know you do some video chats with them as well. Infant classes online. Tell us what that's like.
Well, my first step was to open the Google Classroom and post videos of myself introducing myself. So I had to post one for the babies, and then I had to post another one for my parents because I didn't want my parents to think, okay, this teacher is, too silly.
Talking baby talk all the time.
Have them see the serious side of me and everything. But, we have to be fun for the babies. We have to be open, loving, and, interactive. Yeah. And then I asked them to post videos of themselves on the Google Classroom, and those were breathtaking. Those were wonderful. Yeah. I had some of the babies dressed up in their school uniform. And some of those videos, like, they brought tears to my eyes. My whole family come running. They want to see because they are so cute. They are so wonderful. They did videos with themselves at the park. They spoke, "Hi class, this is so and so, and my hobby is this, and I like to eat that." And it is overwhelming sometimes because you want to be with them. You want to see them in the classroom. There is so much that these babies have to offer, and it's sad that they are at home, So I try to make it as fun, the little lessons as fun, and interactive as I possibly can. But that was my way of getting to know my students individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, listening to all of you, and I want to say thank you to you and the teachers across the country. I think that this adjustment has been one where everyone has their own learning curve, but the point of the matter is that, the children had to keep on learning and everyone has adjusted to ensure that that happens. But what I'm hearing from you is that even in this most challenging time, in the most strangest of circumstances, there are some really solid opportunities coming. One, the children are learning new skills in maneuvering a digital world, but also parents get to witness firsthand. I mean, parents never get to see that first day introduction to the rest of the class, but now they're also getting to experience the learning as well. From your point of view, on acknowledging that a lot of it can be challenging, what are some of the silver linings that you are seeing from this experience?
Well, if I may start, silver lining, let me just say something I wanted to say earlier, that I really do hope that, I appreciate what the government has been able to do in this, to make this transition. But I'm speaking from a member of the society who voted them in, so I'm a part of the democracy. I have a simple message that I think the government can make good education more equitable. So in other words, the student who doesn't have access to strong, steady internet at home with a good device at home, with a good structure at home for home-based learning, should not be at a disadvantage. Yeah. And the disadvantages are widespread. I am from a privileged school, so my students are okay comparatively, but that's not the picture overall. So I'm just appealing that something be done to bring up the delivery of education for the most vulnerable in our nation. Yeah. Having said that, learning new technology, learning how to use Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom or Seesaw or Remind or Edmundo. There are so many different apps and the different opportunities that they come with for improved interaction between myself and my students. So it's not just waiting until the student actually turns in a hard copy of a document, in my case, but having the student looking at that document in the digital space with multiple or endless resources that they can click at their fingertips. Okay, so I didn't get this concept well. I can't answer this question to the best of my ability right now. Maybe I will watch these 10 videos, or maybe I will look at these 5 tutorials over here before I can engage into them. So it's just the access that we now have at our fingertips. And we were always asking our students to do more, to read. And sometimes my students would say, sir, what is the definition of this word? And I would say, have you consulted Google? And they would say in response, sir, we are paying you to tell us. No, they're becoming more aware that they are in charge of their learning, and they're developing self-directed learning skills. And so, and then they can take, if they don't understand something, they can snap a picture and send it to me, and they can get immediate feedback, right? On a particular concept, right? So there are so many ways that I have been able to expand my reach to my students and open up channels of communication and learning for my students. And so that's the best part of this move for me.
Fantastic. All right, let's hear from the others. Just what are your silver linings from this experience so far?
I'd say that parents are more involved in their child's learning. They are seeing the strengths and the weaknesses of their children. Mm-hmm. Also, the students are more technology privy. They are realizing that, oh, my computer or my laptop is not just to play games. Mm-hmm. I could research, I could look at videos, I could find a video that will help me with this topic here, and think about another pandemic or down the road. They will be more able to be settled and be able to maneuver themselves. Yeah. So we do have positives. The parent involvement in education is vital. So we do have positives.
Calman?
For me, it's simply just learning how to dealing with the whole technology aspect of this whole thing, because we're not accustomed to that. Only thing we were using is the laptop and showing the video and the projector. No, I have to get different apps to reach them. WhatsApp, sit down and explore these things, see how best these things would work for them, So that for me is something that I will definitely take from this whole experience.
Yeah. Sherilee, tell us, what's the silver lining for you?
For me, the silver lining would be learning to cope in challenging times and extending that to students and parents. This pandemic has taught us that anything and everything is possible, and we could still learn, even if we are not in the classroom, we could still learn. What I want to say to employers, though, give the parents a little flexibility when it comes to having to pick up package for their child, because you have some parents who complain that they cannot get the time off, they don't want to give them the time off, and they find it unfair because they really want to be involved in their child's education, but some of the employers are making it a little bit difficult for some parents. So for them to just be a little flexible when it comes to allowing parents to be involved in their child's education. For me, another silver lining would be learning about technology, implementing technology in the classroom as best as possible, and just being technology savvy.
Yeah, look at all of you. You're doing video calls and you're becoming YouTube stars yourselves in creating your own content. So lastly, I do want to ask you, we must acknowledge that there are parents out there who are overwhelmed with this process. And it could be for many things. I think as some of you noted, they're facing unemployment, they've lost family members. Perhaps it's balancing work from home or work in general and teaching. What's your advice? How they can adequately support their children to meeting those educational goals?
Well, my advice would be to just be calm and breathe. Do some deep breathing before you have to face the fact that, all right, sit down with your child. Some of them have 2, 3, 4 kids at the primary school level to deal with, and that is hands-on. It's not like if you have an infant, one child, yes, you can have them sit there and watch the video and whatever, but when it comes to dealing with the learning package, you have to be sitting there with them. Think of it as, okay, it is just like when we were doing homework. Just a little more I have to put in, but it was just like when we were doing homework. I was sitting with you and make sure that we get it done. It is difficult, we know it is, but and be patient. Don't be hitting the child, because hitting and screaming, it's not gonna help in any way. Yeah. The child have to have structure. You have to set a little time. All right, this evening at 6 o'clock, this is when we are going to sit together and get your work done. Children love structure, and they perform much more better when they have structure, when they have a little schedule. Give them a little space, have them in a corner with their own little table, their own little stuff, just like if they were in the classroom, their crayons, their pencils. They need structure. They need to see it in front of them, to feel that it is very important, and they need comfort. and it is difficult, but if they know they have a little space, they have a little time, you will have more positivity from them. You will have them being able to be a part of that learning process, as opposed to 10 o'clock, okay, let's do a lesson, and 2 o'clock let's do another something, and they don't know when it's coming, and it's confusing for them. So structure is very important. I advise parents to set a time when they're going to work, set a little space for their children, have them being comfortable and know that, okay, this is my space and this is the time that I'm going to do my schoolwork. That will help.
So 3 tips so far. 1, be patient. 2, set a schedule. And 3, set a designated space. Any other tips someone else would like to share?
Well, I would say, first and foremost, take care of yourself. You must be able to function once you take care of yourself. You cannot do everything all at once. You can't overwhelm yourself with what you can't do. Just take your time, take care of yourself. If you need to take a break, recuperate, and come back and just try to do better and give your all. One advice I would like to give to parents would be consistent. Which are, like my colleague said, you have your schedule. Be consistent, because students, they will try you. If they're not consistent, they will take that and use that as an opportunity to do whatever they feel. And if you break that consistency, that would be the hardest thing to get back. So be consistent. Take time for yourself. Life is challenging on a whole, and with the pandemic, it's even more challenging. But we must take care of ourselves. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. So that would be my advice to parents. Take care of yourself.
We're going to have to leave it at that. I think those are some very solid pieces of advice that people can take advantage of. We really appreciate all 4 of you in participating in this conversation, just to expand our perspective as to how the school from home is how it's going so far. And thank you for what you do, and I'm sure your students will be very happy to see you on TV today. Best of luck and stay safe.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and so there you have it. That was taking a look at what's been happening in the classrooms, and this is specifically from the vantage point of teachers. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to be focusing on mental health. We'll have a Belizean psychiatrist joining us to talk about how to cope in these challenging times, whether you're working from home or facing unemployment. So please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.